Yo, what is up, Crockxen clan members, Legend of Ember fans, Pokemon fans, and others who have come upon this video? I'm SoresanCrockxen here, joined by the creator of Legend of Ember, Joey. Say hello.
Hello.
So this is technically sort of an interview, but it's more of a deep dive into the creative mind behind the story of Legend of Ember. As you guys should know by now, this is a playthrough. Well, not being a playthrough. We have an original storyline that's basically kind of going step by step through the journey of the Pokemon games with its own spin. So, right now we are in a post-war Kanto. We're starting off with Kanto because that's where the Gen 1 games happen. Is that correct?
Yes, but many more to follow.
Right. So we do have I have a couple questions pertaining to future events, but we're going to talk a little bit before that about what has happened so far from the beginning of the show to the most recent chapter 10. So we have three teams right now. We have the Orient Empire, the Medellin, and then the FLF. I want to know, where did you get these names?
Alright, so the Orient Empire is based off of Or, which is the region from the whichever spin-off game has the shadow Pokemon. So I wanted to associate them with the darkest thing I could in Pokemon without taking something directly from the main games. The FLF stands for the Furion Liberation Front, and Floor, I can't remember which one it is. I'd have to go back and look, but there's another spin-off game. It's more of a lighthearted spin-off game, which is why I designated it for this team, because they're supposed to be the good guys, but nothing is black and white in this thing. It's all nice shades of gray. And then I picked the Medellin for what are supposed to be the rockets, the plasmas, the aquas, the magmas, and the galactics, because there's a town in Colombia called Medellin, and that's where Pablo Escobar comes from. Notorious drug dealer. He's like the big cocaine dealer. So since we're gonna run into Team Rocket first, who likes to deal in all those underground, like all the underground Pokemon selling and everything, I thought, what better way to connect it than through Colombian drug cartels?
Now, I do want to ask, because you did bring that up, the Medellin is supposed to be the quote-unquote bad guys from the games. But because we have the Orient Empire as the evil empire, the one that's trying to take over the world, is the Medellin technically like partial good guys, or like are they just the other bad guys?
Well, the thing is the way I'm trying to set this up is that there's three different factions that are kind of fighting for control of these regions. There's the Orient Empire, who wants to completely dominate everything, and at the outset, it's like, that's obviously bad. You need to give people free will and everything like that. But then you see through the FLF and through the Medellin, what happens when freedom comes to the region. There's gonna be obviously more examples in the way, but it kind of makes you think, maybe this region kind of needs a strong police force to kind of hold things back. I won't spoil too much, but there's like a black and white area there. Then the Medellin are, yes, they have all this baggage that comes with them, but throughout everything, they seem to be they'll seem to be helping out the main character, who is the only one that you can associate the black and white with. And then the Furion Empire, or the FLF, right now they've all seemed like really good guys, but as the story continues, you'll see their dark side to go with them, their bad side to go with them as well. So the point of the story is to kind of make you, like, you know who the good guy is, you know who the guy you're supposed to be rooting for is, but you don't know from the three main ones who you actually want to win. I'm trying to make that a little harder for people to kind of just back and like feel one way out. Like as the thing's going, you kind of just hope that all three lose and something else comes along.
Right, I asked that because in chapter, clearly chapter 10, chapter 9 and chapter 10, we had that, the fight in the Viridian Forest, and we find out that was technically the Medellin that was in the midst of all that, and then, there was the accord that was signed between the Medellin and the Orient Empire about a treaty, but realistically speaking, if we're supposed to look at the Medellin as the quote-unquote real bad guys in game, well, obviously we already have another entity with the Orient Empire being the quote-unquote evil villain. They're the true bad guys for right now. What we see visually, like they are the ones that we should worry about the most. So like I just wanted to clarify, Medellin, they're the other bad guys, but they're also good guys in there. And then we probably should worry about the people in our group of potential dark stuff happening. The other thing I wanted to bring up, it was around, I believe it was chapter 5, when, realistically speaking, in the games, we know Blue as a douchebag, but you've already kind of given us a sense that maybe Blue is actually like more mellow out and really cool with Red in this one, because in the first 2 chapters, Blue was typical like Blue in game, like he's just an asshole, but now like we know he really cares for his grandfather, and he's out here trying to watch out for Red, and he has a lot of confidence in Red. Was that intentional? Are you trying to make Blue more relatable to the audience?
Well, the thing with originally I wasn't gonna have Blue have like these I was gonna make him a much bigger player in the FLF, and he was just gonna be this guy who constantly combats him. But then I decided to go with the little route once chapter 3 came along, where the escape from Pewter, where they try to surround the FLF in Pallet. They try to surround him with the fire and get him out, and Blue's the douchebag right away, and you see that Blue gets out of there and he thinks that Red's dead. So having Red come through that is something that gains him some respect. So Blue has, like, when Blue originally sees him, it's just, some guy who might be trying to steal, because we don't know what Blue's mission is. We haven't heard what his mission is. We just know that he has a mission. It's top secret. And, just like Red, he has access to all of the covert or undercover guys that the FLF have all over the region to complete his mission. So he's got some mission that's under there, and he hears that Red has a different mission which doesn't like undercut Blue or whatever he wants to do. And then the fact that he gets out of Pallet, it like earns him some respect points. So right now we're seeing some respect points coming from Blue here, and then he sees him get out of Pallet, which is one thing, and he has he tells the guy in Pewter, Sergeant Boulder, that this guy's probably going to come out here because from all Blue has known, Red somehow escapes these things that it's certain for him to die, so he tells him to go out there and look for him as he goes on. So Blue's is not gonna be exactly the same character that we know in the game, but he's not going to be like the second main character where he's kind of like this good guy who's got like a little bad guy streak in him. There's gonna be a lot more that we see later on that's gonna be different with him.
All right. Now I always forget his name, but the dude from the Saladon Market, Riceball, Mr. Riceball. See, I'm gonna get his name eventually. Were you planning on making him like a somewhat important character near the beginning point, and maybe like more so in the future? Because you already mentioned him back again in chapter 10, when you're like, this guy kind of looks like Riceball. Is Riceball going to be like a main key character that we should like watch out for near the future? Or was that just like a one-off thing where, we needed somebody in the beginning to like bring us into this world?
I mean, he's kind of the introduction to what these undercover guys are going to be. So, we've got Sergeant Boulder, who we find out is like a pretty high up military officer at Fort Pewter, which is someone later on. But Riceball, who's in the same position as Sergeant Boulder, is like some grocery stacker at the Celadon Market. That's like his cover. That's how he covers what he actually is supposed to be doing. So Riceball, he will appear again because he's stationed in Viridian, and we're gonna have to go through Viridian a couple of times. So he will probably appear again. But the reason I made the comparison to Riceball is to kind of show the audience that, you know, he's not just gonna be, he's not like, this FLF isn't just like 5 or 6 or 10 or 12 guys and then like a bunch of hired guns. It's no, they have ways of infiltrating. They have infiltration in a lot of places. And you brought it up before with the Medellin and the Orient Empire about the pact. It's the Viridian Pact. And it spans through all 5 of all 5 regions, the Viridian Pact or the Viridian Accord. So that's why you only see Riceball there, and then in Fort Pewter, it's a very well-held city, so there's only really Sergeant Boulder and then like these like really lesser, like newly joined the FLF guys. But as you go away from Viridian and as you go away from like the capitals of these regions, you'll see more people in there. So I just wanted to, like, he was the perfect character to kind of introduce you to how these undercover agents are gonna work.
Okay. Because I gotta say, I mean, even though I forget his name, I like the dude. Now I also wanted to bring up, we had you created a pimp character essentially. What the hell is his name? I don't remember his name. It's the dude that stole the Pikachu electricity thing.
Yes, the Collector.
The Collector, Mr. Collector.
Maximilius. Yes.
There we go, Maximilius. Okay, what made you come up with this dude? Because like the first thing I saw, this dude is a pimp hat. He kept repeating that word, Collector. Does that mean that this guy is really, like, we should like watch out for him in the near future? Because he seems very important. Plus the fact that he stole like the power of Red's, you know,
Saber Staff.
The Saber Staff. Like, he stole the power from that. Are we supposed to like pay attention to this dude for the near future?
Okay, so the way the Collector works is, for me, it was kind of a little writing, like one of those cheap writing things when I first came up with it. Like, you know, you're going up against Brock, and I already had the idea. That was like one of the first things I had. I was trying to think of, you know, what weapon goes along with what Pokemon type, and I had the hardest time thinking of Rock. And then I was just kind of like watching through Breaking Bad, and they had this mercurial phosphate or fulmate, sorry, where it's just like this small little rock, and you throw it and it explodes and it's huge. And that's an actual thing. So I'd recommend people go look it up. It's not the same as the Breaking Bad. It's more of a powdery substance, but if you remember in the main game, around right before you go into Mount Moon, there's that chick who's like, oh, I tripped over a rock. Oh, it's a Geodude. You know, Geodude is small, and that's what Brock has. So I thought that would be the perfect weapon, because you also, when you think of like the self-destructing stuff, you think of Gravel or you think of Golem in the first game. So I decided to go with that. But, you know, if there's that, you can't really have Red going in there with this electric saber staff going up against some guy just throwing the mercurial phosphate, because he can just, you know, kind of block that and, you know, see who wins out of that. And that's not going to be fun. That's not going to throw some tension into it. So originally the Collector was just put there to weaken Red. So he's only got, you know, this flamethrower that's not gonna do anything to stop this mercurial phosphate. He's got the gliding wings right now that are not going to help him really in a small compact area, and now he's got a saber staff with no power crystal onto it. So he's pretty much just fighting this guy, throwing bombs at him with a stick, is essentially the idea. But then I started to, you know, go with a little bit of a backstory, and I got inspired by the Star Wars bounty hunters, along with, you know, like a bunch of anime has like these really overpowered characters with just, you know, flamboyant, weird
characteristics.
outfits. Yeah, characteristics, outfits. So I decided, all right, let's make him that. So the collectors kind of work as bounty hunters. So, it'll probably be hinted at. I'll make sure to like put it in the story later on. But there's someone in the FLF who's like a double agent, and his only thing that he does for the Orient Empire is leak names. So he leaks names to the Orient Empire. Like, he's allowed to steal some Orient Empire data just as long as it's not like plans to major sites. Like if it's just minor sites that get hits, the Orient Empire is kind of just, we'll allow that trade-off so that you keep your thing in there, but we want you to pass us names. So they pass names, and then they can associate the names they have with what they've done and how high up they are. So the Orient Empire puts out a bounty for the name. So these collectors, they collect the names. That's kind of the whole deal with them. So Red is just a new name. Either there was another Red beforehand and he either died or he got captured, collected, and his name got cashed in. So then there's a new name out there, and the collector has, he kind of figures out, he doesn't even know his name is Red. He just knows he's a new kid who probably hasn't done anything. So if he brings him in, he might not even get anything for it. So that's why he's not interested in stopping him, because he doesn't have the Orient Empire's interest in pulling this guy in, questioning him, anything like that. He just has the sole purpose of, I've got a certain amount of time, I've got like this really fancy outfit, so I need as much cash as I can get, and I'm fighting here in a forest, and whatever I bring in for you is not going to be enough to pay for any rips or tears on the suit. And so he's kind of just going to leave Red, and then he saw the electric saber staff, which is something that, he's pointed out is very hard to obtain, and we see why with that, power crystal, and Red's not going to be able to find that for a while.
All right, I like it. Now, to start off with the future stuff, I might actually tie this question into something that happened in Chapter 8. Now, previously you had made a post on Amino, and you had actually made a poll on everything, whether you wanted to do yellow simultaneous with chapters red, the red chapters, because they're supposed to go hand in hand. You introduced us to yellow in Chapter 8. How are you going to handle that storyline now that, since you're doing them as separate entities, you have the red storyline and then you're going to do the yellow storyline. How are you going to intertwine them in the future?
Okay, so I have a somewhat layered storyline for how both of these are supposed to lay out. The details aren't there, but the kind of basis of how it's going to go is there. The reason that I was kind of more accepting of how the poll results were is because I wanted to have yellow be about 3 chapters behind red, and like certain situations they would catch up and then they'd drop off again. But a little hint for you there, you actually met yellow much earlier in the series as well. I think it's chapter 3 when he comes back to Pallet Town. He makes eye contact with the girl right before entering the shitty part of Pallet. So we've already met yellow twice now.
Okay. Yeah, I kind of remember that now.
Yeah, so we've met it, like, she's gonna be some character that kind of pops up here and there, but we're gonna know, I know the spots where yellow is going to meet with red, but yellow's gonna have, it's a similar, I don't want to give it away, but her mission is going to be very similar to red's, which is why you're going to see her kind of intertwining there, and it's going to be kind of similar, but yellow's going to be a lot more badass. She's going to come across as a very nice character to red, and she's definitely going to come off as a badass in her own storyline, so heads up for that. That's going to be fun.
Awesome. Now, next up, I wanted to talk, because this is something that I've been concerned about since you started this whole thing. How are you going to handle Pokemon evolutions?
So, the way I was going to do it is to have, every town outside of Pallet and Pewter will not be connected to Viridian, which is the capital. So there'll be more than one person in there from the FLF, for sure. I can guarantee you that. So as I would go in, as my Pokemon evolve, when they get to these new towns, Red goes in there, they repair it, and they're like, oh, hey, we've got this upgrade for you. So, I can say my idea is, I can kind of spoil it a little bit, but, obviously I have the Pidgey and I have the Charmander. Those two are, obvious of what I have. Because that's what you catch in the first route, and it should have been obvious with the gliding wing. So, Pidgey will eventually be upgraded to the point where instead of gliding, he'll actually be able to fly first. Be able to fly. It won't just be, you need to go up there and you can, the highest point is where you jump off, but you can kind of glide and move really fast around. It'll be, Pidgeotto will be, you can kind of go up and down, and then Pidgeot, you'll be able to actually fly off of this thing. And, Charmander's, handgun flamethrower is going to obviously upgrade to something much bigger and more complex. And I'm not sure exactly how I'm going to do it, but I think I might be able to combine the two of those together, depending on how the story works out. But evolutions are basically just upgrades to the weapon. So every time you hear this weapon has gotten upgraded, that's what it means.
All right, yeah, because I was a little wary about it. I was like, oh wait, his Pokemon gotta evolve at some point. He's not gonna have the same simple flamethrower all the story. So I was a little concerned about that.
I'll throw this out there too. Do you remember what the collector's weapon was?
Wasn't it a Raichu?
That he fought. It was. It was a double-sided electric saber staff. So you can kind of get the idea of how the Pikachu evolution is gonna work.
Okay, not bad. I like it. All right,
so that's kind of how that's how I'm gonna deal with the evolution side. So I figured that was gonna be a problem as it came up, but I mean, upgrading the weapons, evolutions are upgrades on the Pokemon, so why not upgrade the weapons?
All right. Now this one was another one that I was a little semi concerned about. We have the flamethrower, which is a gift from Professor Oak. You have the Pidgey, the wings right now that were a gift from Rice Ball, and he kind of stole the saber.
Yes.
Are you planning on him actually losing a weapon? Maybe he gets a new weapon and that gets stolen from him? Because that's something I wanted to happen. I was like, I hope he gets a weapon and then it gets stolen from him immediately.
Well, what happens with my playthroughs, this is just a general aside, is, I'll have 5 or 6 Pokemon going through, and then I'll catch something new and I'll put something in the box, or something will go in the box and it'll be switching around. So the idea is, when something goes in the box, I lose it or I gift it to somebody else on their mission, and there's a lot of story angles you can go from at that point, but I'm not going to just catch 6 Pokemon as the route goes on. I'm going to be catching a lot more stuff, and there's be kind of minor things that go along with it, as far as where everything goes. So I didn't want to take the loss of the Pikachu with the Saber Staff right away, because it's a really cool weapon, and it's something that I can bail him out with, or not bail him out, but there's going to be situations where he's going up against normal types and stuff like that, and normal types are guns, what you saw in the Battle of Viridian with the artillery shells coming from steel type Pokemon, and then the firing back and forth is normal type Pokemon. You saw that gas bomb coming from the typical Team Rocket, coughing, wheezing, muck, stuff like that. So I didn't want to get just a normal type for Red, where he just has a gun and he can kind of just shoot back and forth. I wanted to have this electric saber staff with into a more difficult position of, you know, you've got this, you know, something that's probably better than a sword, but you got to get close to these guys with these insane weapons. How is that going to happen? And I feel like that puts him in a more difficult position. So I didn't want to lose the Pikachu. Now, if it was just like a Rattata or something like that, that's fine. You know, oops, you know, you lost it flying or something like that, or a better story, obviously. But I felt like the Pikachu with the Saber Staff is going to be something that comes up later.
Awesome. Wow. Now, another thing is, we spoke, this was around chapters 5 and 6, when we were in Viridian City, and they were taking prisoners to Lavender Town. And you brought up the fact that that's where Red's parents might be.
Yes.
Are we planning a family reunion with Red and his parents? Or is that going to be like one of those, this is going to be one of those stories where they were there and they got moved? Or like, what's the plan? Like, what's the current plan you have? If you can, you know, tell us a little bit. You don't have to tell me it's too much. But like, what's the current plan with Red's parents?
All right, well, I kind of don't want to spoil Lavender Town, because Lavender Town is going to be like, you know, it's going to go from, this story seems like kind of like a dark teenager writing, like trying to bring his like sad high school life to like a story. It's going to go from that to, holy shit, what is wrong with you, Joey? Are you messed up in the head or something? So I don't want to spoil Lavender Town. Like, I want to answer the question, but at the same time, it's going to spoil what Lavender Town is. So
right.
I think I'm going to keep that a little bit of a surprise, but just say that you don't want to go to Lavender Town.
All right.
I would say that's the biggest prison spot. I haven't put all 5 of the regions necessarily on a map yet, but I'm fairly certain it's going to be the prison system for 3 out of the 5 regions, at least.
All right.
So
we'll hold back
it's gonna
on
be heavy
that then.
duty. It's gonna be heavy duty.
Now, this one was just me trying to mess around with. You know, you're dealing with Brock now in the next couple chapters. After that, we obviously have Mount Moon, and we're gonna end up eventually in Cerulean City. Cerulean City is where Misty's at. Is there any plans of hookups between Red and Misty?
No. Misty's going to be a challenge, because the way I have Cerulean kind of set up is, I'm gonna use that as a city of like 3 different distinct classes kind of going together, and Misty's going to kind of be, you know, trying to hold it together, but also keep it separated. Not healing the class tension, but not allowing it to go into full chaos. So she's not going to be someone along that line, and I don't see Misty and Red hooking up at all. It is far in the way, so I haven't really thought of what Misty's gym is going to be like, and how her battle is going to work out. I've gotten a fairly good idea I know how Brock's gonna go down, I can tell you that. I know the path to Mount Moon and how that's gonna go. I have somewhat of an idea of how Mount Moon will happen, and I've got the Nugget Bridge and meeting with Bill, and that's kind of where the details of how the story is. That's kind of how far detailed I have it, but I don't have Misty's set yet.
Well, if we're not gonna get Misty, is Red gonna hook up with anybody?
Well, I've already kind of set up this thing that, you know, Yellow kind of appears as this angel, because even though we've seen her twice now, Red hasn't put 2 and 2 together. So I'm fairly certain Red hasn't put 2 and 2 together on this one, but you know, the way I kind of want to have it is, Red is to make him the good versus evil black and white, he's going to be more of this innocent character that's not looking for, tail on the side.
Okay.
He's going to have this one idea that comes through that's going to separate him from there. But he's still going to have that crush, and my idea was, based on the first intro of Yellow. He's pretty much just blacked out with these three guys around him, and then he wakes up, and there's just this girl taking care of him. And he wakes up, she's taking care of him, he's healing him up, refilling his weapons, telling him to go on. He passes out again, wakes up, and she's gone. So it's kind of like this angel feeling, and that's kind of how the impressions with Yellow is going to be. So if there is a love story, it's going to be through Red and Yellow, but you're not really going to see it.
Okay.
You're not it's not going to be seen as much.
Okay, well, speaking of girls, okay, I want to stay on this topic just real quick. You're playing through Pokemon Red and Blue. You're doing the first gen. Are there any plans of introducing Green as a character? Because she, obviously, the Pokemon Green was a Japan exclusive thing, but technically speaking, she's still technically a character. Are you gonna think about it?
The thing with Green is I wasn't so much planning on having that for Red, but maybe more so for Yellow, because Yellow's gonna pop up here and there. Blue's gonna be very present, but the way the Yellow storyline is if she's 3 chapters back and Blue is always a step ahead of Red, then in the actual game of Yellow, when it's supposed to be Blue going up there, that can be more of Green providing that role. Probably not as much, and Yellow will probably have some interaction with Blue, but to the point that Green's gonna show up in Red's story, probably not.
Okay.
But in Gen 1, Green will show up.
All right, perfect. Now, this was just a random thought. There's trades in game. If you will you be participating in any trades? First of all,
probably not. The trades from the in-game, from what I remember, none of them give you anything good. There's the only trade that comes to mind. I know you can potentially trade a Machoke, something for a Machoke, and get a Machamp out of it, but I don't know if that's red blue, or if that's yellow. But even then, Machamp in first gen is just something that's not really that useful. And fighting type Pokemon are represented. I want to represent them more as machine guns. So I'm kind of looking to avoid picking up fighting types whenever I can, just so that the story is a little more interesting for Red. But then as far as trades overall, I honestly can't think of any trades that benefit you in the game, so I probably won't be participating in that. If it comes up,
well, now you said that, here's the follow-up though. How? Because obviously those characters do exist in the story or in the games. I still think you should bring them up as characters and just have a different idea of what they could be offering the trade, but then Red doesn't take it. I want to know if you have.
Oh no. There's these places where trades are. When I say there's going to be more characters the further away you are from Viridian, I mean there's gonna because the towns we've been to so far. There's Viridian, which is a capital, which is it's pretty big. But it's also, that's where the people who watch over Kanto and Johto, they're right next door. So there's huge military presence. There's a huge police presence there. And it's also got this Medellin presence as well, who are compliant with the Viridian Accord by having a little bit of fortress there. So they can't really, the FLF can't really afford to have a big operation there. Pewter had a pretty big operation because that's where one of their big bosses is from, and he was located there to try and hide. And then the other one is Fort Pewter, which is literally their military base. So they can't really have many people stationed there. But as it goes out, you're gonna see just how, like, you're gonna see why, you know, there's collectors. You're gonna see why there's so much like shoot and kill on sight any FLF members, is because it's going to be something that's probably as big, if not bigger, than the Medellin, which is why the Orient Empire teamed up with the Medellin in this Viridian Accord, to the point that they both know they can't trust each other, but the FLF is a problem for both of them, that they're willing to somewhat cooperate. So you'll see a whole bunch of characters as it comes out. My only concern is making sure I have good code names for them.
All right.
I'm gonna have to find a bunch of random nouns.
I mean, I'm all for it. Like, Sergeant Boulder is cool. Now, speaking of Sergeant Boulder, okay, this man obviously, like, he was serious in that chapter. He's like, you do something wrong, I will shoot you. I want to know, are we gonna, like, obviously you told me earlier in this interview that you have Sergeant Riceball, or not Sergeant, codename Riceball, and then we have obviously codename Sergeant Boulder as two top dogs in the FLF. Because he has this mentality that his cover is always first. Will we see other like top bosses like that throughout the region that are like, you cannot mess up my cover, so I will put my cover above everything else, which means that if you do something wrong, I will take you out. That kind of idea. Like, is there plans for more of those type of characters that, because they have a specific mission in told, that they cannot like mess up anything that happens below that? You're basically a liability for them.
Okay, so the best way to answer that is to first just ask, are you familiar with like the ranking system, like S rank, A rank, B rank, C rank, D rank, F rank kind of deal?
Yeah.
All right. So it hasn't been quite introduced yet, but that's because we're kind of following through the main character, and the main character isn't high enough to see where missions and undercover things are put in a rank. So I won't spoil what Red's mission rank is, but this is like, his mission rank is slightly higher than what the other guys are in there as, but it's not an S rank. And where Sergeant Boulder is, he is S ranked. His mission is undercover, gather as much info as you can through the military in the Orient Empire base in the Fort Pewter, and agent, like, when he says, I will shoot you if you try and come to me and break my code or break my cover, he is like S ranked. Mission is opposing agents expendable, or like FLF agents expendable. So if he feels like his cover could potentially be blown, he will kill an FLF agent, and he has full legality to do it. So like, his mission and where he's stationed at is important until like the day he dies. Like, there's no mission, like, the only mission that could potentially outrank it is full coup d'etat. So until there's like a full coup d'etat, his mission outranks everything else. So that's why he's saying that with severity, because all the other 4 people in the room with him, Red, Poison Vine, Boulder Mom, and Aging Rock, those 4 are not high enough up to even recognize the ranking scale. So he's not going to tell him the rank. It's just, hit my mission is more important than this one, and I will kill you if I have to keep my mission going.
All right, so last question. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Like, because, if you think about it, if this mission fails, they can always grab 3 or 4 new guys and kind of hit them with this. Obviously they'll have to do a different distraction and entry point, but they can still go in there. But if Sergeant Boulder's cover gets blown, there's nobody else in Fort Pewter that they can get to, and they have to start pretty much all over again and get somebody to work their way up in the Orient Empire military, which would take a lot of time, a lot of resources, and probably some other agents being sacrificed in order to get somebody that high up. So the logic of keeping him where he's at, it makes much more sense than blowing it for a mission like this, where they're just looking to destroy some research that they give up on a super weapon project. Because, you know, they're always looking to make new super weapons, and there's already a bunch of super weapons out there, so there's no point in blowing a cover this high up. Right.
So last question. This one is about the SS Anne. Now, in the games, this is a very... It's kind of like a cruise to a point, because, you know, we have to deal with Team Rocket, we have to deal with blues in the ship in the game. You get your first HM, or second HM technically. You get cut in the ship. But because you're doing the story this way, you could have a lot of potential in there. What are your current plans for that arc? Is it going to be an arc? Actually, that should be the main question. Is it going to be like a multi-episode arc, like the Viridian Forest arc, or is it going to be like one of those one-off, like, yeah, there was a ship, he was there, some stuff happened, then it was over?
All right. Well, I'll start that with kind of explaining what Vermilion is. So Vermilion for me is going to be one of the port cities. I had Vermilion as a port city and Fuchsia City more as like a resort, like an island, or not an island resort, but like, you know, one of those Florida
beachside
resorts where, you know, you're on the beach. Yes, beachside resort. So Vermilion's going to be more of like a fishing town, something along those lines. A port city. They've got trade going in and out. Now, what I want to make the SS Anne, I'm not sure yet. Do I want to make it like a luxury cruise? Do I want to make it do I want to make it a fishing vessel? But the thing I'm leaning for more is making it transport, like a good, like the ships you see going across seas transporting lots of goods.
With big
that's
crates
what
on
I'm
the
kind
back.
of leaning towards. Yeah, like big crates on the back, crew in there, stuff like that. I'm not sure what I want them transporting yet. And there might be... I'm thinking it's going to be something along those lines, because I still have to make sure that I get a little bit of details for Yellow, to make sure Yellow gets on the SS Anne as well. Alright, I think I have a pretty solid idea, but it is going to be a multi-episode. It's going to be multi-episode one. I can definitely say that. It's going to have like a multi-episode like Viridian Forest. Probably around 3 to 4, I would say. Like, the multi-episode ones, Mount Moon's going to be one. I can say that. I can say the Lavender Town's going to be like a giant arc. I'll say that right now. Lavender Town is definitely going to be a giant arc, because there's just so much tied into it that it's like there's no way it's not going to be a giant arc. Cerulean Island's going to be an arc. The SS Anne is going to be an arc. The power plant is going to be an arc. And then the 2 roads that connect like Cerulean and Lavender Town to Fuchsia City, I think those are going to be arcs as well. And then every gym leader battle is going to be an arc, or like a multi-story.
Like it. All right.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if anybody in the comments... Sorry. Go ahead.
I'll give you another piece of advice, since I can tell you guys this. If you don't want to have your heart broken, don't get attached to anybody outside of Red. I'll tell you that right now.
All right. See, now that you bring that up, I don't know if you watched the review that I uploaded for chapters 9 and 10.
Yeah, I did.
Okay. I know where you're going with when you're talking about this. I just want to know. I want to see people die. Okay, that's me. Like, I want some people to die, but I don't want it to be obvious. I don't want you to make obvious, because like when you were talking about, oh, there's Sergeant Boulder and, you know, the old man, Aging Rock, I was like, okay, there's something there. Okay, these guys clearly don't like each other, which is why I was assuming that Aging Rock is the one that's gonna die. I don't want it to be that obvious. I want it to be something subtle that you don't expect.
Well, here's what I'll say. Here's what I'll say about Aging Rock. All right, there was a great. This kind of inspired me onto why I can say for sure that Sergeant Boulder is not going to kill Aging Rock. I've been getting back into Star Wars a little bit recently, and there was something about talking about to Obi-Wan about when he's like in the desert. It's, never underestimate an old man in a career where a lot of young men die. So like, if there's like this old guy who's in this career, in this profession where people die young, don't underestimate him. Don't think he's a pushover. He's got something like behind him. So, no, it's not going to be that obvious, but literally any and everyone outside of Red and, maybe Oak and maybe Blue, maybe Yellow, maybe Green. I would say those are like the only safe characters. Everyone else, it's like as I'm writing, whatever my mood is at that point is how quickly they can get on the chopping block. So, unless you want to have your heart broken, do not get it connected to anyone.
I mean, I still gotta give my heart out to Rice Ball. That man is a genius. But if he dies, he has to die. That's the way it is.
I mean, we obviously aren't going to see Rice Ball again for a while, but I feel like Rice Ball and everyone else that you're going to meet on these towns, like the kind of, not the high ups, but like higher ups where they kind of know what Red is doing there. They know what rank his mission is. Those guys are going to have very similar personalities, where it's, there's a new guy coming in, he's made it this far, so there's something like you can get a little emotionally invested in. Because as you saw from before, Sergeant Boulder did not give a damn about Poison Vine. He did not give a damn about the woman. What was it, like Bear Rock or something like that? I don't even remember her name. So these next two chapters are going to be real fun for her. But then Aging Rock as well are like, Aging Rock's probably been around for a while, but the other two are like, he shows no care for them whatsoever. He answers their questions and then that's done. But with Red, he sees, all right, he's made it through the Battle of Viridian. He's made it from Pallet Town on that, on the glider, and he's obviously has to have seen the Collector come through. So he's seen Red survive all this. So he was willing to go out, meet Red, make sure he was okay, and bring him back to Pewter, which is, it's actually something that I picked up from, which war movie was it? Oh no, it wasn't a war movie, it was the series, Band of Brothers. Later on, they stop forming, they have, when they get reinforcements at the front line as, later on in the war, they don't get emotionally connected with them because even though they want to, they're so green, they're so inexperienced that they're no doubt going to die within a week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks. So that's kind of the idea of this is, until somebody has proven themselves on like a big mission or something like that, you don't get emotionally connected with them. So that's kind of what you see with Sergeant Boulder, with these other two, with everyone else in there. And that's kind of a little thing with Aging Rock in there too. You could kind of say is, he's forcing Sergeant Boulder to have this like emotional connection with him. Even if it's like a connection of hate, it's still an emotional connection that, could play on later. Should the mission succeed, but he's going to need some help, and Sergeant Boulder can help him without blowing his cover. Is he going to risk it? That's kind of making that emotional connection there of, yeah, all right, I'm going to go save him. He's proven himself worthy.
All right, sorry. Shout outs to Aging Rock, man. That man is fearless. That's going to be it for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Leave in the comments below, what are some questions you have for Joey here? Obviously, this man has imagination of plenty. He's got ideas. He's got plans, and I for one am excited to see where this series goes, because like I like where it's going so far. As long as
if you have any comments as the chapters go on, you can leave the comments in there. Or you can leave your reviews on Soresan's reviews. I go in there and I watch it right away, and then I go back and I look and see if there's any comments in there or something. I can answer you right away, or we could just hold on to it for a video like this. These come out every 10 episodes, so I think the next one will probably be right during or after Mount Moon, so I'm looking forward to that.
All right, we get to talk about mountains. Yeah.
And we're gonna have to remember that, Chapter 11 is when the battle, the assault on Fort Pewter happens.
Yeah, that's gonna get intense. Shit's gonna go down. I'm ready. Yeah. Well, thank you, Joey, for coming. Looking forward to the rest of the couple chapters that are coming up now. Can't wait to see somebody die, because somebody better die in this fight, or I swear.
Also, if you want these to come out faster, I don't know if there's any artists in there, but just give me like a picture, draw a picture, 2 pictures. It can be Red in an action scene. It might be a little late to get like something from Sergeant Boulder, but like, Red on a route, Red facing off against Blue, and I'm more than happy to just put that picture along with like maybe 1 or 2 other pictures as the full video. If you've got any inspiration from what I've written and you can draw a picture, I will be happy to promote it like 2, 3, 4, 5, 100 videos. So send it to Soresan, send it to me. Soresan can pass them to me, and I will gladly put them up.
All right, you heard the man. Get those fan pictures going. The next big arc is Mount Moon. So hell, just.
No. The next arc's starting right now. The assault on Fort Pewter.
No. Well, I mean, there's that, but like, if they don't have enough time, Mount Moon is around the corner. You can definitely make fan art for that. And that's a big cave. You have a lot of things in there you can cover. So
you can make it Pokemon related too. Even though I don't mention Pokemon in the playthrough and everything, you can put a Pokemon in there and I will happily use it.
All right, you heard him. So get to work, peoples. But thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you, Joey, for coming. Looking forward to the rest of it. Chapter 20 will be back. And thank you guys so much for watching. I've been SoresanCrockxen, signing out.